And U.S. foreign policy circles are complaining about the record number of big donors to President Obama that are getting plum postings at embassies around the world. While the practice of placing big presidential campaign donors in posts abroad is common in the United States, the Obama administration is putting that practice into use now more than ever. According to the American Foreign Service Association, Obama's number of political appointees serving ambassadorships has broken all records at 37%. And so far, the rate for his second term is even greater, now standing at 53%. But it's not just staggering numbers that are calling attention to the issue. It's the Obama appointees themselves. In a recent hearing, senators had the chance to ask some of Obama's nominees some very simple questions. Take a look.
Mr. Barber, I take it you've been to Iceland?
Sir, I've not had the privilege yet. I look forward to it.
Mr. Sunas, have you been to Norway? I guess. And Isabel, have you been to Hungary?
Yes, Senator, I have.
Mr. Mehmet, have you been to Argentina?
Senator, I haven't had the opportunity yet to be there. I've traveled pretty extensively around the world, but I haven't yet had a chance.
Senator, I am no real expert on China.
And some of those nominees are big donors indeed. Robert C. Barber, the nominee for Iceland, raised more than $1.6 million for Obama in 2012. Colleen Bell, nominated as ambassador to Hungary, contributed about $800,000 to Obama's reelection. And Noah Bryson Mamay, potential ambassador to Argentina, raised more than $500,000 for Obama's reelection. To look more into Obama's political picks for ambassadors, I was joined earlier by RT political commentator Sam Sachs and comedian Lee Camp. I first asked Sam what he thought about the situation.
Look, all the administrations have done this, and usually past administrations have somewhere around 30% of their ambassadorships have gone to political allies. The Obama administration in the first term, it was something like 38%. Second term, it started off and it's 53%. So it looks like this administration is doing it more than previous ones, but there is a sort of quid pro quo here. If you help me get elected, there'll be a pretty nice gig for you down the road, and ambassadorships are usually pretty nice jobs to have.
And I think Jay Carney said, well, it's just because there's so much turnover right now in his second term, but that's supposed to go down. So that's their response. But Lee, we saw from how all of those appointees or those nominees responded that they couldn't answer a simple question, or they could answer it, but they haven't been to the countries that they're going to be appointed to. Do you find that problematic at all?
It's probably a little problematic, but we're not new to putting horrible people in important positions. I mean, this administration, as with past administrations, they put terrible people in a lot of positions. They put, he wanted Larry Summers, who was basically responsible for deregulating derivatives and the 2008 collapse by association. He wanted him to be chairman of the Federal Reserve. I mean, right. It's like putting George Zimmerman as head of the NAACP, or Lance Armstrong as head of the DEA, or the boogeyman in charge of underbed security. It's a terrible idea. We do this all the time, put horrible people in important positions. That's just what we do here.
Heck of a job, Brownie, at FEMA.
Yeah. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But Sam, how much should an ambassador really know about the country they're going into?
Where it's located on a map, the form of government.
That's it?
No, a lot. Ideally these sort of things, the language they speak there, what the ruling party, the ideals of the ruling party, and it seems like these nominees don't have that basic knowledge. And the State Department doesn't have any guidelines on what an ambassador should know. Apparently they're going to release some at the end of this month, but up until now they haven't had any. And when you're chosen as an ambassador, you go to ambassador school.
Isn't that,
for a bit.
That's kind of surprising. So everything's okay as long as they go to ambassador school and learn about...
Isn't this just like window dressing? I mean, aren't the real things that need to be done with these countries being done with, like, economic hitman and military and stuff?
And a lot of these are pretty symbolic jobs. I mean, the ambassador to the Bahamas, or the ambassador, in this case, Norway, if he screws up and if he doesn't know that much about the country, there's not so much damage he can do. But when you start sending ambassadors to China who don't know anything about China, or Hungary, or some other countries or Argentina.
About a small country here. We're talking about a
problems
huge
there can
country.
compound.
for which we have very strategic ties to. So, Lee, what do you think the implications of this are? You know, having all of these ambassadors all around the world that may not know a whole lot about the countries they're in.
I don't think it'll change things much because, like I was saying, I think the important things and perhaps the scarier things are done in other levels. But I mean, you know, did it affect our country that we had a cowboy who couldn't ride a horse and had been a cheerleader, a faux cowboy? Did that? No, it didn't even matter at all. You know, we had a vice presidential candidate who couldn't list something she'd read. So these ambassadors not being having been to the country. So.
And what role are ambassadors supposed to play? You might remember when WikiLeaks released the State Department cables, ambassadors and diplomats were encouraged to spy on the countries to collect information about foreign diplomats. So maybe it's not career foreign service people that you want, but people who you can do these covert operatives now with him. Yeah.
And do you think now that the administration is getting some flack for this, they're going to, you know,
I mean, I guess the administration said that this uptick is an anomaly, and so maybe the next few ambassadorships that are open are going to go to career people rather than political allies, but I don't see this as being much of a change. And as I said, if it's an ambassadorship to the Bahamas, then maybe that's where a political ally should be and not a career foreign service guy. We need the people there at the big things, and these are decorative jobs for the most part.
Well, it seems like the State Department may not be very patient with the Obama administration going forward. Sam Sachs, political commentator, and Lee Camp, our comedian. Thank you so much.